When in Fiji, we do as the Fijians do. I'm wearing a jaba, a salu-salu, and a teki-teki. Distinguished girls and gentlemen, the Director General for FAO, the the Assistant Director General. I'm representing civil society organizations in the Asia and the Pacific region. I am Maria, a farmer from Papua New Guinea, founder of Papua New Guinea Women in Agriculture, and a member of PIFON, Pacific Islands Farmers Network Organization. And I represent 32 participants from 16 countries in the Asia-Pacific region, representing 25 organizations. And we came here together for the 34th APRC. We are smallholder family farmers, and farm workers, landless, rural women and youth, fisher folks, forest dwellers, pastoralists, and herders, including indigenous people whom we represent, urban poor, consumers, and NGOs. And we thank FAO once again for your ongoing commitment to engage with us. I'd like to tell a small story. In PNG, Papua New Guinea, we have enough mouths to feed. And we don't focus on too much export of our food crops because we have enough people to feed. Our smallholder farmers, especially women, are mostly reliant on growing our traditional crops to sell locally. But in some cases, it's getting harder for them as corporate farms are taking away the best available lands to grow export crops. And so that now some of our women must walk more than 10 kilometers to forage and farm, bring them to the roadsides to sell them. Traditional crops grown by these farmers prove to be more resilient than the foreign monocrops, which do not survive during the severe drought in Papua New Guinea in 2015 and 16. This is just one example of many stories our farmers, agroecology, and traditional knowledge build resilient farming systems across Asia and the Pacific. FAO itself has repeatedly acknowledged the need to advance agroecology, but many member states still push false solutions. Like hydroponics in PNG, instead of supporting smallholder farms to farm agroecologically, they're connected to local value chains and to sell locally. This must be promoted. In the last 2 days, in industrial agriculture, especially intensive meat and dairy production, is a major producer of greenhouse gases. Mitigation measures put forward by our governments fail to address these underlying causes and continue to allow the biggest polluters, including agribusinesses, energy, and mining companies, to continue taking our land, water, and heating our planet. This includes the mitigation mechanisms of UNFCCC, including RED, REDD++, blue carbon, and climate-smart agriculture that are promoted by FAO. In the last 2 days, two-day meetings covered many topics, and especially our one-to-one meeting with the Director General. Director General, thank you for making the time to meet with us, and we appreciate it. Mitigation to reduce greenhouse gases and adaptation climate change are rooted in people's access to and control of land, fresh water, marine, forest resources, and on community-led work to advance agroecology, nature restoration, and water retentive landscapes. Around 80% of the world's food is produced by us, smallholder farmers, on family farmers, fisher folks, but we need to do more to uphold our rights. We see corporate agriculture promoted in much lauded public-private partnerships and in the support to GMOs, like the golden rice, supposedly to feed the world. Just this week, the US Justice Department approved the merging of Bayer and Monsanto, just one more mega merger that puts our food systems into fewer hands to the detriment of food producers and consumers everywhere. This, despite the presence of international recognition of the rights of indigenous peoples and smallholder farmers, as recognized in the FAO policy on indigenous and tribal peoples, and in the ongoing discussions for a UN declaration of the rights of peasants. And here, we the indigenous people, with the traditional knowledges and the crops that we grow, we are hereby recommending to FAO: 1, implement global policy instruments such as the Declaration of Rights of Peasants once ratified the UNDRIP, the VGGT, and the VGSSF are the RAI, with full and active participation of civil societies. Promote regional initiatives such as One Health and ask governments to implement it in their countries, to highlight the dangers of AMR and the rise of new strains of avian and porcine flu that threatens global pandemics. Thirdly, ensure any food safety modernization takes into account an systems approach looking at impacts across ecosystems and at the different risk profiles of different scales, ensuring that food safety doesn't negatively impact small-scale producers. Number 4, review the impact of free trade agreements on farmers and food systems of blue growth on fisher folks and their families, and report on progress of implementation. The 5th, most of our civil society organizations already require at least 50% participation of women at all our meetings. FAO should advocate gender, balance in the member states' delegations during APRC and other key official events, as this enacts meaningful inclusion of women. And our recommendations to the governments: 1, work with universities and other educational institutions to bring the FAO's promotion of agroecology to their attention and into their curricula. Regulate the promotion of unhealthy food to children. The 3rd one, shift the public spending subsidies and procurement away from industrial farming and implement procurement policies in public institutions that prioritize produce from local and agroecological plus farming families and their sustainable fisheries. The 4th one, reject free trade agreements which contribute to the rapid spread of disease and rise of obesity. As was mentioned in one of our speakers, that Pacific Island countries are obesity-based, as countries import more unhealthy calories per capita. And the 5th one, support local market infrastructure for bigger countries such as PNG and scattered islands of other nation states, and value chain infrastructure for smallholder exports in our Pacific. And our last recommendation is to FAO and our governments. 1, only three more recommendations. Recognize the role of local governments and local communities as frontline responders to the impacts of climate change by ensuring their participation in decision-making and response. Number 2, set up mechanisms and stronger partnerships by working with smallholder farming families, fisher folks, pastoralists, forest dwellers, not only for ongoing advice, but as real partners from planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of initiatives, projects, and strategic frameworks. And 3rd and lastly, take the lead in implementing the UN Decade of Family Farming with strong involvement of civil society, especially family farming organizations at national and regional levels. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, we believe that all of you want the same thing we do, a just world that is free of poverty and hunger, where we are all actively slowing climate change, rebuilding resilient ecosystems, and safe and healthy food systems for us and future generations. We look forward to continually working with you to make that vision a reality. Vinaka Wakalewo.